What's up, Vandals? This is Johnny Alpha, wanting to welcome you back to Graphic Vandalism. And I am back with a brand new video to take a look at a few books that just embody the tone, the spirit, and the feeling of one of my favorite styles of movies, Grindhouse movies. The term Grindhouse refers to the old sleazebox style movie theaters of the 1960s to the 1980s that gained notoriety from playing anything from B-movie style fantasy and sci-fi to art house and foreign films. But the Grindhouse style will always be synonymous with exploitation movies, featuring very extreme imagery and themes of violence and sexuality. The five books I have picked explore the sheer variety one would get from a Grindhouse experience. First up at number 5, we have Space Riders, written by Fabian Rangel Jr., with very classic looking art by Alexis Zurit, and published by Black Mask Studios. And Space Riders is a very hyper stylized sci fi revenge story, very much in the spirit of Roger Corman flicks like Battle Beyond the Stars. And the story for this one follows the exploits of one Captain Peligro, as he rejoins the ranks of the Space Riders with a new crew after a very savage betrayal. He has to learn to trust his new teammates as his retribution gets closer at hand. Rangel and Zerrit create a downright fun and at times very innocent space opera, full of majestic giant beings and hardcore heroes and villains. Alright then, up next at number 4 we have Concrete Park, written and drawn by the team of Tony Proyer and Erica Alexander, and published by Dark Horse Comics. This comic is a very awesome mix-up of many styles I love. It's basically a soul cinema escape from New York style futuristic B-film with a touch of hard sci-fi. Oh, and a ton of soul cinema badassness. And Concrete Park follows the adventures of an escaped convict who gets marooned on a dangerous desert planet that is gripped by conflict and has crazy cyberpunk secrets and a huge cast of volatile characters. This comic hits the ground running and never lets up. This really is a comic more people should be reading, as in my opinion it just does everything right. Okay then, up next at number 3 we have The Goddamned, written by Jason Aaron with art by R.M. Guerra, and published by Image Comics. Now, this comic is gloriously blasphemous, and it reads like what we'd get if Jess Franco or one of the other European horror masters took a stab at making a biblical movie. And The Goddamned is all about Cain, the man who invented murder, and it chronicles the lost chapters of the book of Genesis. As he wanders the world he made in his own image, he learns of a barbaric slave master named Noah, who plans to build a giant ship to try and escape the punishment that mankind has coming. And I can see this book being very triggering to a religious person, as it's very crude and very bloody, and it pulls no punches with its very sardonic and nihilistic narrative. And with number 2, let's take a look at Devolution, written by Rick Remender with art by Jonathan Wasak, and published by Dynamite Entertainment. Now, this post-apocalyptic tale is very much in the vein of movies like Damnation Alley, but cranked all the way up to 11. After a scientific experiment that was meant to stem religious fanaticism has very unexpected side effects, the world becomes a wasteland of giant horrific creatures and de-evolved human cavemen. As one of the scientist's daughter and a handful of survivors try to make it to San Francisco in search of an antidote, they have more than a bumpy ride and must cut a path through hell itself. This book is a total blast to read, and I find it beyond tragic it's one of Remender's least known books. I really hope this video helps change that. And last but not least, here is my number 1 pick, The Humans, written by Tom Neely with just amazing art by Keenan Marshall Keller and published by Image Comics. What can I say besides this book hits its mark perfectly? It captures the themes and tones and feelings of classic 70s biker movies, all while being its own awesome and impressive story. In this comic, apes evolved faster and smarter than humans and keep humans as livestock, but history as we know it still happened, just with apes instead of people. After coming home from a Vietnam POW camp, Johnny must try and find if he still has a place in this world. As his biker gang tries to make some big moves, his new life of freedom becomes a fight for survival. This comic is exploitation perfection, and if one wasn't told this was a newer comic, the story and art could totally make you think it was straight from the 70s. Well, there you have it, Vandals. 5 in-your-face, gut-punching, take-no-prisoner Grindhouse-style comics. And if I missed your favorite, please let me know in the comments. But for now, until next time, this is Johnny Alpha from Graphic Vandalism saying don't stop reading.